Hi, we're going to talk about how SuperTokens works, specifically the architecture behind how it integrates into your application. The first part is a frontend SDK. This integrates with your website natively. This means that if your website is on example.com, you can integrate a frontend SDK to provide UI on your website wherever you like, on whichever path you like. We have SDKs for React.js and for Vanilla.js, using which you can either build your own UI or use a pre-built UI. The second part is the API layer. So for example.com to function, it must communicate with an API layer. In this case, we will take an example of api.example.com. We provide backend SDKs for various languages on the backend, and these SDKs essentially expose a few APIs that the front end can talk to. And these APIs are exposed via a middleware through a backend SDK. And for example, when you click on the sign in button on the front end SDK will call the sign in API on the backend. Now, for these APIs to work, they require some sort of state, and typically that's by interacting with the database. This is where the third component for SuperTokens comes in, which is the SuperTokens core. This is an HTTP microservice which you can either self-host or use a managed service for. And when the backend APIs are called from the front end, these backend APIs then call the SuperTokens core API for the relevant functions. And then the SuperTokens core API talks to the database for state management and returns a response to the backend SDK, which then returns a response to the front end. So to sum it up, the front end queries the backend SDK, which queries the core. So all requests to the SuperTokens core are proxied through the backend SDK, and this makes customizations of the backend SDK within your own API layer.